Day 6 of 49ers Intel. Thanks for tuning in. A whole lot more to unpack from training camp today. Brock Purdy's best day of camp so far after his elbow surgery. Trey Lance took a little step backwards today. Some of the same issues that we had seen prior to his excellent day on Monday resurfaced today on Tuesday. And Sam Darnold definitely slid a little bit today. So we are not prisoners of the moment, though. We do not take one day and extrapolate it into foreverdom. We look at each day and look at it rationally, and that's what I'm about to do. And I'm going to break down everything that happened at 49ers camp. This is 49ers Intel, a look behind the scenes, a look at some analysis that you probably won't get anywhere else. This, though, you'll get somewhere else. This is the 49ers sizzle reel from day 6. Came out fairly recently, so why don't we take a look? The sizzle reel is up. There's Brandon Ayuk making another excellent catch. What else is new? There's Deebo Samuel going to the ground, making a catch. That, I believe, was the touchdown that Deebo Samuel caught. One-on-ones, Juwan Jennings over Isaiah Oliver. Look, there's Danny Gray. There's the tight end, George Kittle. And there's a nice pass breakup. Who was that? I need to rewind a little bit. It's not very often that I'm not sure. That's oh, yeah, that was Deommodore Lenoir working against George Kittle, but Lenoir got flagged for holding on this play. So, people were saying, oh, this was a near interception from Brock Purdy. Yes, but Lenoir held George Kittle, so it didn't count. Context on that play. There's Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be one of the focuses of our discussion tonight. There's Brandon Ayuk just out muscling Ambry Thomas. To me, that continues to be the issue for Ambry Thomas. What about D. Winters? The rookie pass breakup against Ty Davis Price. That looked like a hold from Ambry Thomas. He grabbed that little flag dangling from Brandon Ayuk's jersey. Willie Snead looked a little grabby on the coverage as well, but a catch for Willie. Brandon Ayuk making another catch. Again, what else is new? And, the prettiest throw of the day. Brock Purdy to Juwan Jennings in red zone drills. Touchdown, 49ers. Nice way to end that sizzle reel. Maybe we'll revisit it in just a little bit. But we want to talk about Intel here on day 6. We want to talk about the Christian McCaffrey effect because he had his fingerprints all over today's practice. And we want to talk about how that effect might stretch into the regular season with all of the 49ers quarterbacks and how it's impacting all of them right now in practice because McCaffrey is obviously a very, very valuable piece to have on your football team. But first, let's go through the notes of what happened today. It was Brock Purdy's best day so far. Unquestionably, Brock Purdy was really sharp today. He was a good quarterback. 8 of 10, that's a good percentage, right? And there was one blemish on that mark, and it was a throw that should have been intercepted by Marcelino McCrary Ball. He didn't pick it off. He dropped it. I'll describe the play. Brock Purdy was rolling to the right. It was a nice escape from the pocket. He was scanning the field. He was running out of time as he was approaching the sideline. And you're taught to never really throw the ball back across the field. It wasn't an egregious throw back across the field, but it was on a slight backwards angle. And it was a short throw, and it went right to Marcelino McCrary Ball, the second-year linebacker, who couldn't hang on to it, so it wasn't an interception. But outside of that, Brock Purdy was really damn good. Look, I've got the notes right here. Why don't we take a look at the notes? He opened with a completion to Brandon Ayuk. Then he went completion to Deebo Samuel. Ayuk was far sideline, outside the numbers. Deebo Samuel was near side, also outside the numbers. Then he moved on to another completion to Deebo Samuel. So 2 in a row to Deebo. Then came the holding penalty against Deommodore Lenoir trying to cover George Kittle. That's the glory of George Kittle, right? A smaller cornerback's going to have a lot of trouble getting in position against him without holding, and Lenoir had a hold, so that pass didn't count. Then there was an incompletion from Brock Purdy. I have a drop listed here, but I'm not sure. I can't even read my own shorthand, but that pass was incomplete. Then a completion to Ayuk again, far side. Kittle again. That was over the middle. Kittle was a nice intermediate pass, so Purdy was on point with the intermediate passes. 49ers moved into red zone drills, which are always intense with pads on. Purdy first completed to Ty Davis Price out of the backfield, got the 49ers down to about the 3 or 4 yard line. He tried for Brandon Ayuk in the end zone. It was a rollout play. It was very similar to the one that Sam Darnold a couple days ago had thrown perfectly to Brandon Ayuk, but that was a dime, and it was a really tough throw. Purdy couldn't quite squeezed that one in there. Ayuk might have been a little bit better covered, but it didn't matter because that was the second down play, and it set up third down. And on third down, you saw Brock Purdy scan the field, check out all of his options, and then just quick release, throw a dart over the middle that you saw in that sizzle reel to Deebo Samuel. Had to be a quick release, had to be on time, on target to fit into a small window right over the middle of the field. Touchdown, Deebo Samuel from Brock Purdy. And then the play that you saw end the sizzle reel, which was a corner fade to Juwan Jennings, who had previously won a nice battle against Isaiah Oliver in one-on-ones. Well, Juwan Jennings got open on that red zone play, and Brock Purdy found him. 8 of 10. A lot of talk about rust, a lot of talk about the elbow injury. We should be talking about those things because an elbow surgery and a torn UCL is a big deal. Brock Purdy is only a few practices back, and he's already delivering 80% days. So really impressive stuff from the player who right now clearly is the 49ers' best quarterback. He showed it during the season last year, and he's showing it again right now in practice. You know, the day before, Purdy wasn't nearly as good as he was today. But the problem is there's a lot of binary reporting out there, which I don't find to be particularly truthful. And people said, oh, Purdy wasn't good. Well, I mean, he went 12 of 16. I thought he might have even gone 13 of 16. There's some discrepancies in some notes, but it doesn't really matter. 12 of 16, 13 of 16. Great. He had a bad two-throw stretch. That's for sure, right? The day before, where he bounced the pass to Warner, and then he threw the interception to Greenlaw. But he had two separate stretches of several completions in a row. And then he moved into today where Brock Purdy went 8 of 10. I mean, he's starting to cook. He started 3 of 10, really rusty on his first day, moved to that 12 of 16 day that I just talked about. And then we have the 8 of 10 day today with a couple touchdowns from Brock Purdy. So yes, he is coming off an elbow injury. Yes, you probably are going to need to give it several practices. We might see some more downs before we see the perpetual ups. I mean, even from a healthy quarterback who hasn't been hurt, who doesn't have an elbow surgery on his recent track record, you're going to see ups and downs, especially against this 49ers defense in practice. And the fact that Brock Purdy is playing like this against the first team 49ers defense, that's a big deal. He's the only quarterback that's taking snaps against the number one defense in the league, because the quarterbacks taking snaps against the 2s and the 3s for the 49ers aren't facing the top defense in the league. So Brock Purdy definitely impressing for the 49ers today. It was unquestionably a good day for him. On the opposite end of the spectrum, it was not a good day for Sam Darnold. And Sam had been, I thought, consistently good throughout all of the days of this training camp until today, where he hit a little bit of a wall. Opened up with a completion to Deebo Samuel, also had a completion to Tay Martin early on, incompletion to either Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel. I'd be better off if I could read my own writing in the first part of 11 on 11s. But then in red zone, Sam Darnold went 0 for 3. And he started forcing footballs in the red zone, like short throws, forcing footballs. Marcelino McCrary Ball almost intercepted one of Sam Darnold's. I wouldn't call it a dropped interception, but he certainly got a lot of his arm in there. That was intended for Ty Davis Price. And D. Winters, the rookie linebacker, you saw it on the sizzle reel. He really pounced on a throw from Sam Darnold into the flat to break it up. So Darnold wasn't very good with his eyes. The second team defense got a read on him, and it was a 2 of 6 day for him. For Trey Lance, the people really wondering about Trey Lance, he went 4 of 6, but the 2 incompletions are concerning because he went back to what was causing him trouble, what has been causing him trouble essentially throughout his entire career, and it's the short throws. First throw of the practice was a throw into the flat to George Kittle. Should have been a gimme. Sailed George Kittle. Didn't have a chance to get the football. I mean, it's a bread and butter throw. It's a base throw. It's 1st and 10. You've got to set it up and create a 2nd and 5 at least, right? Even a 2nd and 7 is better than a 2nd and 10. But if you don't give your receiver on the gimme throw a chance to catch the ball, 1st and 10 becomes 2nd and 10. Then there's a whole lot more pressure on everybody, from the play caller to the receivers to the offensive line to the quarterback himself. So Trey Lance, if he could start hitting those shorter throws consistently, he's going to make it a lot easier on himself. Then he followed that up with 4 straight completions, but his day finished in the red zone with an incompletion to Ross Dwelley. Similar length of pass. He was sprinting out to the right, Ross Dwelley was. He was in the end zone. He was open. A pass that wasn't that difficult to make that would have led Ross Dwelley would have been a touchdown, but Trey Lance threw it behind him. Ross Dwelley had a slow down turnaround, and the defender was able to break it up. So the two misses for Trey Lance are concerning. You've got to make the most out of all your reps, and he definitely didn't make the most out of all his reps. We all have to view this and report it fairly within context, guys. Brock Purdy is not missing these types of easy throws. Trey Lance, this has been his Achilles heel. This has been his weakness. If we want to talk about Brock Purdy's weakness, I do that plenty. It's whenever he gets flushed out of the pocket, he rolls too often to the right. He doesn't step up in the pocket. It cost him during the last regular season, right? So to his left, I want to say, rolling to his right is nicer because it's a natural throwing motion, but rolling to his left, that sometimes puts Brock Purdy into an inefficient position. That's the criticism for Brock Purdy, but the one consistent criticism for Trey Lance has been his inconsistency in the short game. And that showed up again today. The day after, he was awesome, right? Lance was 9 of 11 on Monday. He was hitting passes to all parts of the field, short and intermediate. Today, that wasn't the case. The short passes became an inconsistency again for Trey Lance. And I think that's the book on him right now, is that he is consistently inconsistent with this short game. And it's got to get better for the 49ers to trust his floor enough to be their QB2. Right? He's in a battle with Sam Darnold, who wasn't good today either. The 49ers were really happy with how all three quarterbacks performed, especially 2 and 3 on Monday. I don't think they could have been nearly as happy on Tuesday. But we're not prisoners of the moment. We don't take one practice and extrapolate it into how we're going to feel for the rest of our lives. We're just logging how this is going on a day-by-day basis. And today, Brock Purdy was definitely the best 49ers QB, who's also working against the best competition with the first team. And Trey Lance and Sam Darnold weren't nearly as good. I will say that Brandon Allen was damn good today, but he's working against the third team. So it's a lot easier for Brandon Allen. But he is 4 for 4, and he was on point. I mean, some deep out patterns from Brandon Allen, hit an intermediate over the middle of the field, felt comfortable in the pocket. He doesn't have a great arm, but he's got a good enough arm to hit the throws that Kyle Shanahan schemes. And today, Brandon Allen, after not being used much at all the day before, I think he went 1 for 3. Today he was a good 4 for 4. So he is QB4. He's not getting as much run, but he's making, or at least today, he made that run count. Water time. Oh, well, I swam in the bay today at the Dolphin Club. Then I went into the sauna afterward. It was great. You go from cold water, especially with the wind hitting your face and the fog hitting your face. It is officially Fogust in San Francisco. Get it? Fogust, Fogust. And the air is cold, especially in the late afternoons when the air is moving. When that hot air from the valley meets the cold air coming off the Pacific Ocean, it gets rough. Now, in the Dolphin Club today, which is, I'm a member of it. It's right on the bay up there at Aquatic Park. Some of the guys were talking about, it's just a bunch of crazy open water swimmers like me. Some of the guys were talking about this front of warm water that's coming from the direction of Hawaii, from the southwest. It's like 71-degree water, and it's going to hit the Pacific coast at some point here of California, with the direction that it's coming. So that might be in a day, might be in 2 days. We're about to get some warmer water. Now, by warmer water, it probably still is going to feel ice cold to most people who just like to dip their toe into the beach. But, I'm swimming with a wetsuit sometimes, without a wetsuit sometime. It's going to be a nice relief to not have to be in water that's in the 50s, right? I think it's going to get up to the 60s. So anyway, that's going to be really good. I got onto the topic of water because I'm drinking some. We're about to move on to the rest of this 49ers practice report. All right, let's do it. So Purdy's best day so far. Darnold's worst day so far. Lance, back to some trouble with the short throws. Those have got to be better for Trey Lance. And, it's Taco Tuesday. We all love Taco Tuesday. My favorite one in San Francisco is Nick's Crispy Tacos at Rouge, the bar over at Polk and Broadway. But I'm talking about Taco Charlton, who the 49ers signed today. Played for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. 2017 was drafted number 28 overall, so in the first round by the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously hasn't panned out as a first-round pick. You could call him a bust if you want to. If you must, call him a bust. But the 49ers think they can salvage something from Taco Charlton. 11 and a half sacks in his 7 years in the NFL. The 49ers are his 8th team in the National Football League. Has been mainly a practice squatter over the past few years. I saw Taco Charlton out on that field today. And it looks like he's slimmed down from the time that I saw him with previous teams. He's listed at 270. He's tall. He's 6'6". Yeah, I think he's 6'6", 260 or so. I think he's that body type that the 49ers will really like because of the length to be able to rush around the edge and do the things you need to do on the edge with the long arms. But he's got the lightness on his feet to do some damage whenever Chris Kasarik moves him inside. Lo and behold, Taco Charlton had a sack today in his 49ers practice debut against the third team. So we'll keep our eyes on him. Defensive end reinforcement brought aboard today by the 49ers. They waived the undrafted rookie safety out of Rutgers, Avery Young, to make room for Taco Charlton. Maybe we can update the roster. Why don't we do that? I haven't updated the roster yet, so why don't we do that on the show? The 49ers 90-man depth chart. Just give me a second here. Give me a second as we get this up on the screen and then share it with all of you in its full glory. Who's ready for this? I am. It is added to the stream. There we go. 49ers 90-man depth chart. So we need to take Avery Young off of it. Avery Young was down here. He was a safety. He was, as you can tell, very far down the depth chart. So we'll erase his name. We will erase the rookie denotation. You could see here that 89 out of 90 spots on a 90-man roster are taken. We can erase Brock Purdy off of the injury tracker, and maybe I should start a new injury tracker because some guys might be dealing with various things. For example, Robert Beal missed practice today. We don't know why because Kyle Shanahan hasn't had to give a report yet, but Darrell Luter Jr. can go on the injury tracker. I'm getting a little sidetracked here just because I noticed part of my sheet wasn't updated. Okay, so Taco Charlton. Do we predict that he'll make the roster or not? No, I'm not going to predict that he'll make the roster yet. In fact, and Alex Barrett did some nice stuff today. I'm going to put Taco Charlton right here until we see a little bit more from him, and I'm going to mark him as a defensive end. I spelled his name wrong. Taco Charlton. There we go. He's on there. 49ers back at 90 men on this roster. Soon we're going to do a breakdown of this whole roster with this up there, but not quite right now. All right, let's move on to who's making some plays at 49ers practice. Marcelino McCrary-Ball and D. Winters. They're both competing to be the 49ers' third linebacker. Azeez Al-Shire is gone. 49ers need somebody else to pair with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw on about 30% of the snaps. 70% of the time, the 49ers will be a nickel, which means they're going to yank the third linebacker off the field. And Isaiah Oliver, the nickel back, is going to be the most common player they bring in to those situations. As Jair Brown develops, the rookie safety might become part of the 49ers' three safety sets. And in that case, he might replace Isaiah Oliver. But the 49ers love the veteran Oliver right now. He's definitely higher up in the consideration order for that nickel spot than a third safety like a rookie Jair Brown would be. Anyway, McCrary-Ball and D. Winters are both making plays as third linebackers right now for the 49ers. McCrary-Ball is even getting some first-team reps. He was all over that Brock Purdy throw back to the middle of the field today, almost intercepted it. Kyle Shanahan gives defenders who don't catch interceptions grief, so I'm sure that Marcelino will get some grief for that, but he's playing physically. He's playing intelligently. I mean, he's in the right place at the right time. We saw him with the pass breakup covering Ty Davis-Price later on in red zone against Sam Darnold. So Marcelino McCrary-Ball's stock is rising. I know fans love this player. Had a great story. He was working at the Home Depot when the 49ers drafted him down in Florida, played for Indiana University. That's Nate Sudfeld's alma mater. Shout out to Nate Sudfeld, who's no longer with the 49ers, but he's a Hoosier. Marcelino McCrary-Ball is. And he worked all last year on the 49ers practice squad. Might have been the best interview on the team. I mean, the guy just loves to talk, but he's very charismatic. He's buff, he's strong, and boy, can he move. So Marcelino, have yourself a training camp because he's climbing up the pecking order. I look at my depth chart right here. I don't have him making the football team yet, but he is sure knocking on that door. Somebody I did have making the football team to begin training camp was D. Winters. This is the rookie linebacker out of TCU. Big time instincts for D. Winters at TCU to the point where he had 11 tackles for loss last year, and he wasn't really even blitzing. He was just sensing when to shoot across that line of scrimmage. So the instincts were on display today when he had the pass breakup against Sam Darnold in the backfield. And we could watch the 49ers sizzle reel one more time a little bit later to take a look at D. Winters. We hadn't heard all too much from him until now. Because now, now that the pads have come on, now that these guys have been in the system for a while, it's been a crash course for the rookies, right? They were conditioning for a week. Now they've been in camp for a week. This is when you want to start seeing some of these players make plays, start sniffing out plays. Because if it doesn't happen right now, when is it going to happen? You have to, some guys take longer to develop than others. And more complex positions like quarterback, yeah, I get it. It might take a year or two for some of these players to develop. But the third linebacker is going to show up early on if he's going to be a legit player, in my opinion. Especially because he could just focus on those 30% of the snaps that the third linebacker plays. He's not having to learn the entire opposing offense in such a detailed fashion like somebody like Fred Warner would have to learn, right? So D. Winters started showing up today. That was a nice pass breakup. And it's definitely something to monitor moving forward. Are we going to see more plays from D. Winters, the 49ers rookie linebacker? All right, I know I talked about the McCaffrey effect. There's a lot to talk about regarding Christian McCaffrey. First off, before I get to the McCaffrey Greenlaw moment, Christian McCaffrey plays with his hair on fire. And this goes back to OTAs. We didn't really get to see him practice in a 11-on-11 setting until OTAs, right? Because last year he came midseason. We don't watch practice midseason. Even then, it's probably a little bit slower for the 49ers. It's OTAs in camp when guys are really getting after it because they're not conserving themselves for a game. And when everybody was watching in OTAs, it was like, who is this guy? He's an all-pro. He's one of the best in the game. He's being paid a lot of money, but he's practicing like an undrafted free agent who's scrapping and clawing to make the team. He puts his head down and sprints to the end zone after every play is whistled dead. He's like, nope, I'm not done. I need to condition more. I'm going to run 40 yards right now. Then he goes back and takes another snap. It reminds me of the days when I was covering Christian McCaffrey at Stanford. And the strength coach back then told me that they would take players and they would have like a stretch cord. They would just tether two players to each other. And then the two players with the cord and the belt on attached to each other would have to run in opposite directions. So it was this ultimate tug of war. And you would obviously try to move the other man against his will. And Christian McCaffrey would just dominate everybody who was his size. So then they would start putting guys who weighed more than him, who are at different positions, like tight end, against Christian McCaffrey, and they would attach the belt, and McCaffrey would destroy them again. And the strength coach at Stanford at the time told me he would kick somebody's ass, and this is obviously an exhausting exercise, and then he would literally, like that, the guy whose ass he kicked would take off his belt, and Christian would go pick up the side of the belt that belonged to whoever he was facing, and he would go walk it over to somebody else because he just wanted to kick their ass. So he was like scanning the room for people whose ass he wanted to kick at practice. The guy was just like a machine. Over and over again, he would just go destroy people in this drill. This was back in college at Stanford. And he has that same mentality on the football field for the 49ers. I mean, Christian McCaffrey takes a handoff in training camp and OTAs, scurries through. I mean, he's really quick. He's an all-pro. He's really good. So it's usually a big game. And then, they whistle the play dead. He sprints 40 yards forward to get some more conditioning in because I guess he's not in good enough shape yet. Just kidding. Bobby Turner actually wants the 49ers running backs to do that. That's the 49ers running backs coach. But then Christian returns to the huddle and he does it again. The guy is a machine. And I think that it's rubbed off on the other 49ers running backs. Ty Davis-Price is playing at a higher level than we saw last year. He's also trimmed down a bit. He's a little bit leaner, but he's still running through a lot of contact. He's still a bell cow out there, right? Ty Davis-Price is a physical back, but he's moving a lot better, significantly better than last year. And the energy level in that running back room is higher than it was last season pre-McCaffrey in practice. I think Jordan Mason's running really well. People were like wringing their hands about fumbles for Jordan Mason, but that was before pads came on. People love to jump the gun on this stuff. I get it, but it's not real football until pads come on. Guys aren't as worried about ball security when pads aren't on. It changes the entire dynamic of how you run, how you shield the football, what's going to happen when you're about to get hit. And so far, Jordan Mason hasn't fumbled once pads have come on. I think he's been running hard for the 49ers. I think that the undrafted free agent rookies, Ronald Awat, Kalon LeBourne, Both of those guys are running hard. And then you have Elijah Mitchell, who has been taking a beating out on the field, but he's held up. I mean, this is a player with a lot of injury history, but he's held up for the 49ers. They have a very strong running back room. Mike said McCaffrey is contagious. Contagious CMC, the McCaffrey effect for the 49ers. So anyway, there was a moment today. This is what I have written at the bottom of the screen. There was a moment where Dre Greenlaw, who loves to hit everybody, who has trouble, I think, sometimes showing some restraint. He is really an enforcer on the field, where he just drilled Christian McCaffrey running up the middle, brought him to the ground. Now, on Monday, that was the first day with pads. There was a lot of pent up aggression and energy because the 49ers hadn't had pads on for 4 days. So the first time something like that happened, it was when Demetrius Flannigan-Foles hit Elijah Mitchell hard at the end of the play. First time something like that happened, a big brawl started, right? Melee, covers 2 fields, 20 to 25 players involved. Kyle Shanahan has to stop practice and be like, guys, control your emotions. But I think everybody saw it coming. I don't think anybody really minded it all that much because these happen at training camp. It almost does indicate that your team is ready, that your team is ready to fight. So it went down on Monday, right? This was worse, though. The play that happened on Tuesday was worse than the Flannigan-Foles hit on Elijah Mitchell. This was Dre Greenlaw literally driving Christian McCaffrey to the ground, and that's a big no-no at these practices. You don't bring guys to the ground at a practice that doesn't allow live tackling. So it just got quiet all of a sudden. Because I think like everybody in attendance thought like, oh boy, that's a no-no. Your all-pro running back just got driven to the ground the day after he had a big fight. Is this going to lead to more? Is this going to lead to round 2? Is this going to be another big brawl? Instead of that, though, McCaffrey got up, Greenlaw got up, and they both just faced each other. And I couldn't hear if they were what they were saying. I'm sure they were talking. And then they embraced each other and they talked for a few more seconds and they talked it out. And then they returned to their respective huddles and continued playing. And I thought that was a really cool moment of maturity. Again, I'm not against fighting at practice. I think it's just a natural part of football practice. But I do realize you don't want to have a brawl every single day. It gets a little excessive if there's a brawl every day. And this could have easily turned into one. And I think had it happened the day before, probably would have turned into one. But the fact that you have 2 star players and a total superstar in Christian McCaffrey allowing cooler heads to prevail, I thought that was a great leadership moment from both Greenlaw and from McCaffrey on the play. And, it's one of those that you don't see all too much. Normally tempers are flaring on the football field, but it was a good moment of emotional restraint for the 49ers on the field. All right, Aaron Banks is the next guy that I'm talking about. Aaron Banks is back for more. Now, the reason I'm talking about Aaron is because I wrote about Aaron, and Aaron is a player that's certainly worthy of being written about. Mike, can you please toss this link, and I'm going to send it to you right now, into the description so everybody can check this out. Just sent it over to Mike. This is the article that came out today on The Athletic, and I could also put it into the comments section. Mike said yes, he's putting it in there. There you go. You can check out this piece on Aaron Banks. Mike's going to put it into the description here in just a couple minutes. He's probably doing that as we speak, and you could check it out in the comment section. But Aaron Banks is back for more, and this is what I wrote about today because we interviewed Aaron Banks yesterday, and I had a chance to write it for today's practice report. But remember at this time last year how worried people were about Aaron Banks? Laken Tomlinson had signed with the Jets. Aaron Banks was struggling in training camp. Chris Foerster, the 49ers O-line coach, was even like really, really clear about the fact that this guy was really struggling in training camp. He was like, this is, he was looking back on it, right? Foerster 4 days ago talked about last year. He's like, it was clear that Aaron Banks was having a rough time. But what Aaron Banks did is he tightened his belt and he got to work and he overcame those training camp struggles and he delivered a solid first year. He wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination, but let me toss out a number for you. Banks only allowed 2 sacks over 1,100 snaps last year. 2 sacks. He was essentially a rookie. It was his first year starting for the 49ers. Second year on the team, first year starting, had 6 garbage time snaps in 2021, but Banks allowed only 2 sacks in 2022. And over the season, he emerged and developed into the road grader that the 49ers wanted him to be as a run blocker. Now, how does he have to get better? Well, he gave up 35 pressures. It's a lot of pressure, more than average, but it wasn't terrible, right? I think the 2 sacks number is big because he wasn't giving up the type of pressure that was turning into an immediate sack. He was still slowing guys down. So how does Aaron Banks get better? Well, he improves his anchor. He improves his communication skills to get better support from Trent Williams, to get better support from Jake Brendel, who's going to be on his right as the 49ers center. And he takes another step in run blocking, because if you're a better run blocker, you're going to be a bigger threat as a pass blocker too, because run blockers put defenses on their heels. If they're afraid that you're going to be running the ball down their throats every single down, the defense isn't going to be that aggressive against the pass. That's why Hassan Reddick was able to blast by Tyler Kroft, because he gambled that there was going to be a pass play coming, and he did, and then Brock Purdy got hurt. So the run game is really important to neutralizing opposing pass rushes, and part of that is also making your offensive linemen better in pass protection. Anyway, Aaron Banks can get better at all these things. But look at where he is at right now compared to the hand-wringing last year. People thought that the 49ers offensive line, particularly its interior, would be a disaster last year at this time. There was a lot of people that were really, really down on this offensive line. First-year starter Aaron Banks at left guard, first-year starter Jake Brendel at center, first-year starter, a rookie, Spencer Burford at right guard. All three of those guys acquitted themselves decently well last year. Brendel was a Pro Bowl alternate. Aaron Banks only gave up those 2 sacks. And Spencer Burford, I think he struggled, but he was good enough to survive the season on a playoff team in a platoon with Daniel Brunskill. So the work is cut out for all 3 guys. I call them the law firm. Banks, Brendel, Burford. The work is cut out for all 3 of these guys, but I think that they have a good chance to be better this year. Banks has come in excellent shape, doing well in his one-on-ones. Brendel, Pro Bowl alternate last year. I don't see why that drops off this season. And Spencer Burford can take the same second-year jump that Aaron Banks did from 2021 to 2022. So check out the article on Aaron Banks. It's big for the 49ers. One of the big misconceptions is they didn't have a good offensive line last year. They were top 10 in pass block grade, number 5, I think, in pass block grade. It wasn't a bad sack rate that they gave up at all last year. They turned into a good running team at the end of the season, especially when Christian McCaffrey started running the football. I mean, he makes everybody better. Last 2 seasons, the 49ers have emerged as a solid pass blocking unit, and I think they hope to get even better this year behind the likes of Aaron Banks, Brendel, and Burford being in year 2. So anyway, the McCaffrey effect, I talked about that. This is something I've showed before, but I think it's worth showing again. Well, actually, yeah, here it is. I need to stretch this out so we get all of it. There we go. I don't know why it's so damn big. I think it's fine. You guys can see that, right? Maybe you could zoom in on it. Basically, red is bad, blue is good. So the left column is what the 49ers did before Christian McCaffrey showed up. The right column is what they did after he showed up. So weeks 1 through 7, and then weeks 8 onward. He did show up in week 7, but he didn't really play. So it's full-time role versus non-full-time role with the 49ers for Christian McCaffrey. Points per game went from 20.7 to 30.5. Yards per play from 5.8 to 6, from number 11 to number 4 ranking. Yards per pass attempt, 7.3 to 7.7, number 7 to number 3. Yards per rush, 4.5 to 4.8, number 16, which is average, to number 7. But then, like, the real situational stuff, the more advanced stats that truly measure efficiency, look at this. Overall DVOA, 49ers went from number 21 offense to the number 2 offense with McCaffrey. Passing offense, they went from the number 15 offense to the number 1 offense with McCaffrey. Running DVOA, they went from number 26 to 6. They went from a bottom barrel running offense to a top tier running offense. That's Christian McCaffrey. That's the impact that he had last year when both Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy were the quarterbacks. He made everyone better. And the reason I want to talk about it today is because I see Christian McCaffrey making the 49ers running backs better. Everybody's hustling like him in practice. Everybody's got that energy. Well, this guy, I mean, it's just compounding interest that the 49ers are getting from Christian McCaffrey at this point, right? He transformed that offense by giving it Steph Curry-like spacing. Kyle Shanahan has talked about this before. Christian McCaffrey draws the type of defensive attention that Steph Curry does for the Warriors on the basketball court. Everybody takes at least one step toward him, makes other guys more open. That's why the offense got so much better when McCaffrey was at his position for the offense. He gave the quarterbacks a nice safety valve. I'll tell you what, it seems that after almost every negative play from a 49ers quarterback, the next play goes to Christian McCaffrey. Something bad happens downfield. They try to push it a little too much. They line up again. Oh, there's the outlet valve to Christian McCaffrey, who can then proceed to try to lead the league in yards after the catch. He's so damn good. And that effect is real on the running back room. It was real for the 49ers last year. And that, made the McCaffrey Greenlaw moment all the more special in this practice yesterday. I want to remind everybody that on this channel, on my feed, in my articles, wherever you find content, facts matter more than feelings. There's a lot of feelings, a lot of emotion out there. People getting a little too emotional, to be honest. And it's clouding their ability to document and absorb whatever is happening, especially with the quarterbacks, objectively. But we believe in objective facts here over those feelings. So as I open the Q&A, why don't we keep that in mind? 49ers Q&A, ready for your questions. The reason I have more energy today is because I finally, after getting everything set up here, was able to swim. It was really good. I was able to swim, and of course, I was able to write a fun article on Aaron Banks, which I'll put back up on the screen here as I wait for a couple questions to come in. There it is. So check that one out. Waiting for a few questions now. Post your questions, says Mike. Julius asks, who's leading the Sam linebacker battle after the departure of Aziz? Well, I talked about Marcelino McCrary-Ball making a couple plays today. I talked about D. Winters making a play, but McCrary-Ball has gotten some first-team reps. So he is definitely a name to watch for the 49ers. He's making plays out there on that football field. Now, Oren Burks, who's missed some time due to an injury, just a minor one during this camp, he is the high-floor veteran that will make the team because of his special teams ability. But if they can get one of these younger players to play that linebacker role, 49ers will have a little bit more upside at the position. I haven't seen Purdy roll out to his left all too often, so I would say so far, yes. The improvement that Purdy needs to make from his biggest weakness is stepping up in the pocket, trusting the pocket more. And I get it if he doesn't trust it fully because he is a shorter quarterback. Russell Wilson has this problem, right? Russell Wilson completes passes to the middle of the field at a lower rate than anybody in football. He likes to target the deep passes and the sideline passes because it's hard to see over offensive and defensive linemen in the middle of the field. So Wilson's best years came with the Seahawks when he was running around everywhere, not when he was playing within the pocket. But Kyle Shanahan requires structure because Kyle Shanahan has composed this offensive system where it's reliant on the quarterback hitting players in timing. He has to hit a spot. And you hit that spot with timing if you're in the pocket. So staying in the pocket is the key for Brock Purdy. Has to have a little bit more patience in the pocket. Doesn't want to just bail to the left. How tall am I? I'm 6'5" and a half. Is Drake Jackson going to pan out? Well, he's looking good so far. The speed is there. Today, he ripped around Colton McKivitz. I couldn't tell who won the one-on-one rep because McKivitz made him go around him. There's no quarterback really there in those one-on-one reps, but I think that Drake Jackson definitely is stronger than he was last year, has more endurance, and he's just as fast. We saw him trail Elijah Mitchell, just really cover him well, blanket him the other day on the zone blitz drop. No, the practice squad is not a possibility for Trey Lance. Listen, there's a question about cutting Trey Lance because I guess that was on social media. The 49ers would actually lose cap money by cutting Trey Lance. And as you know, they are not in a position to be losing money right now. They're tied up against the cap as it is. It would cost $5 million more, $5.4 million, I believe, to cut him than to keep him. And they put somebody on the practice squad, you have to cut him and then re-sign him to the practice squad. So no, they are not cutting Trey Lance. A trade is a different story. And the trade has always been possible because If somebody offers you enough, then every man has his price, right? I just don't think the 49ers have really been offered all that much for Trey Lance because his value around the entire NFL has never been lower. He's been mainly hurt for the past 2 seasons. I'm asked who the week one right tackle is going to be. It's going to be Colton McKivitz. That's essentially settled. Thank you, sir. This is really nice of you. You enjoy the factual reporting without the clickbait. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Should we expect some trades with linebackers and running backs? Sounds like they're deep at those positions. Yeah, I mean, we can expect it at any position where the 49ers, or we can anticipate it. Let's put it that way. At any position where the 49ers have a glut of talent, you can anticipate that there might be some moves at the deadline. This team is loaded, right? I think a great example is kicker because this one is cut and dry. You're not going to carry two kickers. Zane Gonzalez has been awesome. An NFL team is going to want him. He kicked the 57-yarder the other day. 49ers have two kickers because Jake Moody is also kicking really well. And obviously, they're going to prefer Moody because they just used the third-round pick on him. So you could flip Zane Gonzalez for a pick. Same dynamic can happen at a lot of other positions, including cornerback, including running back, including linebacker. This is how the 49ers can replenish draft capital. You build a strong roster and then you enjoy the spoils of that roster. Yep. People can also get poached off the practice squad. That's the problem, even with trying to get somebody like Brandon Allen on the practice squad. He was QB2 for Cincinnati last year. So if you cut him at the deadline to cut people, another team might want to pick him up because QB2, look, we can fit him onto our roster. 49ers can't, we'll do it. And that's before he can get on the practice squad. And signing elsewhere will be a whole lot more appealing because signing elsewhere means $1 million at least for Brandon Allen. Practice squad means only $200K. And then even if you do get him onto your practice squad, he can be signed and poached. Ian Sharp right here delivered the right word. He can be poached off that practice squad at any time. Do I think that Dre Greenlaw will get extended next year? Well, wait, what's Dre's contract situation? He just got extended last year. Let me look. Dre Greenlaw contract. No, it was only a 2-year deal. So he is through 2024. So they have him under contract through 24. So yes, next year would be an extension year if they wanted to do that. If he stays healthy, if he stays playing well for the 49ers, then yeah, why not extend him? He is a heartbeat of this defense. Oh, yeah, I forgot to report this. Thanks, Mike. Jalen Moore's injury, obviously concern, went down today. They look to be looking at his left leg. Not sure if it was a knee or an ankle. I don't want to incorrectly report something, so I'll just go ahead and say that I was not sure. He was down for about 2 minutes. Then Jalen got up and limped off the field, and then he was carted the rest of the way back into the facility building where I'm sure they examined him today. To me, it seemed that Jalen Moore was in the lead to be the 49ers swing tackle because whenever Trent Williams was sitting out, Jalen Moore would be the first team left tackle. And then he seemed to be the first team left tackle every time, or the second team left tackle every time Trent Williams was playing and that second team took the field. It looks like it's between Jalen Moore and Matt Pryor, the veteran, who's got 26, 27 career starts, formerly with the Colts that the 49ers signed. But if Moore is hurt, well, that changes the dynamic. And the 49ers are already sketchy at tackle to begin with. They're relying a lot on Colton McKivitz. And then you wonder about the depth in case Williams or McKivitz gets hurt. Well, we're talking about Jalen Moore being the top backup. Then you move on to Matt Pryor, and now you have to start really digging into the depth with Leroy Watson, the tight end in college, teammates with Spencer Burford, who bulked up and has looked good at tackle, but has been doing second and third team work. Now he's going to be filling in for Jalen Moore because I'm guessing Jalen's going to miss some time at least. Don't have an update yet, but with that time being missed, it's time for Leroy Watson to step up. There's obviously always concern about tackle depth, no matter who you have on your football team. Man, sorry if I'm missing any questions because I definitely am missing dozens. There's a lot of you on here today, but I'm sure that you understand. A lot of questions. This is moving a little too fast, even for me. I think McKivitz is doing fine so far. It's really hard for me to tell, though, from the sideline without tape. So I'm going to be 100% honest. I like evaluating O-line a little bit more in preseason than I do at this point because you can't tell what's a sack and what's isn't with the quarterback not being able to be touched. It is tough. Not sure if I see an improvement in secondary play yet. I'm going to be honest. I am not sure. Last year, the 49ers had 20 picks through camp. This year, they only have 3 or 4 so far. So we'll see how that continues going. They don't have Bosa out there either on the pass rush. Brent asks, Kinlaw doing great, I hear, but I also hear that Brendel's been the one to beat him every time in one-on-ones. How has Brendel been doing in 11-on-11s? Brendel's nobody to worry about. He was solid last year. Pro Bowl alternate. I think he's been doing fine in 11-on-11s. Again, offensive line, I'm going to be able to zero a little bit more in on that once we get to the preseason. Yeah, one negative for the 49ers, definitely Ambry Thomas. Cooked is a word that I usually use when somebody's just getting roasted in coverage. To me, he's not getting roasted. Ambry Thomas is always in position, almost always in position, but the book on him has always been he's not quite strong enough at the point of the reception. So Brandon Ayuk has just been bullying him. Ambry Thomas is right there. The quickness, the technique is on point. And then it's, Brandon Ayuk just wrestling the ball away from him. Brandon Ayuk has the bigger, stronger frame. It's better positioned to make that catch. And Ambry, the problem is it's his third year. And this was an issue entering year one. We didn't hear from him last year, right? He was hurt. And a bunch of stuff happened. And the rising stock belonged to Diameter Lenore. I think Ambry looks a little thicker now. I think it looks a little stronger. But again, he is still losing in some of these physical matchups downfield. And that's something that needs to change. Any rumors, secrets, or predictions week one? Nick Bosa will be signed by then, and the 49ers will beat the Steelers. Those are my predictions for week one. Thanks for the question, Todd. Will the Niners win the Super Bowl? I don't know. I think they're going to be in really good position to try to win the Super Bowl, but I can't make a prediction on that yet. Thank you, Wolf777. Flying from San Diego to attend camp. Make sure you say hi on Thursday. Get in the morning. I'm guessing you'll just Uber over from San Jose. It's maybe 10 or 12 minutes from the airport. SJC to Levi's Stadium. Appreciate you. No, Danielle Hunter's contract wouldn't affect Nick Bosa's because Bosa's going to be very top of the market. Danielle Hunter is not. Danielle Hunter, probably a B-list pass rusher. Nick Bosa is definitely on that top of the A-list. I think Mitchell and Ty Davis Price are looking great at camp, especially Ty Davis Price. It's looking really, really damn good for the 49ers. All right, why don't we review what happened today? Because it was some good stuff out at practice for the 49ers. It was day 6 with the McCaffrey effect in full effect. So time for the sizzle reel. This is from the 49ers. Always a fun watch. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. Is this a little choppy or near your guys' end too? Hopefully it's not. Well, at least we get to see it in slow motion if it is. Danny Gray making a catch, sprinting across the field. Over the middle from Purdy to, man, this is really choppy. There was the Diameter Lenore holding call. He knocked it away from George Kittle, but he held him. Brandon Ayuk out muscling Ambry Thomas. It is really choppy. Yeah, we'll give up on this. Maybe I need to restart my computer or something, but it's all good. Sizzle reel, we played it at the start, so you guys can rewind it and get it there. Guess what? We're at 49 minutes or at 48 minutes and 47 seconds. 49 minutes is the length of these shows because we're covering the 49ers. Hit the sub button, hit the like button, comment, and do whatever you want. Also follow me on Twitter at Lombardi himself, and go and read that article in the description. Sign up to The Athletic. I wrote on Aaron Banks, and we'll be writing all these days about something interesting. Thank you, and everybody take care.